This is DS Yaxheimer. This is another edition of the Spectre, and I'm just going to be talking about, well, I guess I kind of call them Bubblegum Pundits because, you know, as the Trump administration is basically, it's a fucking reality show. And I mean, I call them that. I mean, there's reasons for that. It has a lot to do with the fact that they all become, well, they all essentially become experts on everything. Like, you know, Glenn Beck is an expert on climate change, for instance. Ben Shapiro is an expert on, I guess, mental illness, because he thinks that if people who have gender identity issues are basically mentally ill, because he's an expert on it. I mean, he might be Harvard educated, he might be very bright, but he's not an expert on almost anything. He just, I mean, he's a smug creep. That's how he kind of comes off. He kind of talks like this, and kind of has his face scrunched up, and all of that. He's you know, he's one angry. It's just like, it's like a yarmulke with nothing but like hate. Like the yarmulke on top of his head is trying to somehow contain the hate. I don't know what it is. I'm not sure what the purpose. I mean, I know, you know, Jewish people wear yarmulkes. Not a lot though, which is weird. Ben Shapiro is like this sort of, in the least, like, because like there's people who are sort of middle left who are sort of friendly with him somewhat. There was an actor, I'm trying to think of his name. I mean, I know his face and everything like that, but I guess he was going to consult with him about gun control, whichever, because they were doing, this actor was doing an episode of their show about whatever, because he doesn't know a lot of people on the right who are in Hollywood, obviously, you know. But Ben Shapiro really isn't a gun expert, that I'm aware of. He's not a gun expert. He probably knows, you know, a lot about ancient Hebrew scripture. I don't really know what he went to school for. He went to Harvard, so I'm assuming he's kind of smart. When I listen to him, he doesn't really sound smart to me, and I don't mean any disrespect towards people who have who are on this spectrum of autism or Asperger's, but he just sort of reminds me of a bar mitzvah boy with Asperger's. He's just angry, divorced from emotion, insensitive towards, I mean, I don't know if you ever saw that clip of him talking to, was it Zoe Tur? That one who was transitioned into a man. They were having this, he was in the military, or she, I'm sorry, was in the military. His daughter, forget her first name, her last name's Tur. She's really cool. She's a journalist on, I think, MSNBC or something. But she seems pretty bright. I mean, and you know, her father seems bright. But anyway, that's beside the point. But long story short, Ben Shapiro is not an expert on anything having to do with gender or gender identity or sexual orientation. He knows absolutely nothing about it. He's just trying to sell his point of view. It's literally sell it, because it equals ad dollars. The same thing, that's what Glenn Beck's done. I mean, Glenn Beck's like, he's worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and he's the most idiot, stupid piece of shit I've ever listened to, but he is. I mean, he wrote a whole book refuting climate change and refuting science, and that's another common thread with a lot of these bubblegum pundits, is that they love to just refute science in the face of evidence. It doesn't matter, and they're in this whole other world where religious scripture, at least for a lot of them that are of faith, is completely, that is absolute truth, that anything coming from the scientific community is largely bullshit, because it intersects or conflicts with their values. So that's kind of what it is, if those are in fact their values. I mean, I don't know. I think all this is about really just making money. I mean, you think about a lot of examples of these people. I mean, like, think about Tomi Lahren. Do you think she's in this because she really... Do you think she's a tried and true conservative? I mean, she might be, like, whatever. But, I mean, she's like, what, 25 years old? She's just... I mean, she's so... I mean, to say that she's narcissistic is a complete understatement. I mean, she's borderline personality disorder. Absolutely no regard for anyone but herself, seemingly. To basically go on... I remember I saw a clip of her. I saw the interview. She interviewed the girl from... She was on that TLC show... I Am Jazz, that transgender teen, and got into her about that shit, you know, because really the biggest fear we all have is that some guy is going to dress up like a chick, go into the women's bathroom, and try to sexually assault women, because the minute that law hits the book, I mean, the thing of it is, if someone's going to do that, they're not waiting for a law allowing, you know, transgender people to go into the bathroom of their designated gender, their newly assigned gender. So that's not really the biggest fear I have. And the same people, when a whole school gets shot up by a freaking, you know, by some, you know, incel with an AR-15 and kills like a couple dozen students and, you know, teachers and stuff like that. Hey, you know, don't take away the guns. They don't, because, you know, they don't want to take away those guns because there might be a transgender person or a guy dressed up like a chick in the bathroom, or, you know, a young man. So you need a gun for that. So the students should be armed to defend themselves against people sneaking into the opposite sex's bathroom, masquerading as a woman, or vice versa even. Hey, whatever, let's just say it could possibly happen. So yeah, you do need a gun for that, in case a tranny tries to rape you in the bathroom. But that's bullshit. So Tomi Lahren's completely full of shit, and Milo Yiannopoulos is obviously that British queen, that British apparently self-loathing queen. I think he was discovered by Steve Bannon, because he was at Breitbart before. He got shit canned for saying something on, I think, Bill Maher about, I don't know, I can't even remember. They say one thing and they get canned. That's the thing, they're just like, that's all it takes is one wrong thing that they say, and you don't even know what that wrong thing is anymore. But he did, so he got fired from Breitbart, like that matters, like he had an actual job there. Just all they do is spew out bullshit all day. But Milo Yiannopoulos is basically like Tomi Lahren and like Ben Shapiro. They go to universities and where there's a lot of students, and they know it's just water for them to chum. I mean, that's all it is. They know that those kids are so easy to fire up. They're so easily offended. They just go there, and it's part of the show. And sometimes this requires a lot of security. You know, a lot of money is spent on security. So some asshole like Ben Shapiro, whose opinion isn't really worth more than anybody else's, can speak. And he's nothing but a snide jackass. And Milo just goes there and talks about, it's like, I'll offend the black students, I'll offend these students, he offends the gay students, even though he's super gay. And Tomi Lahren just generally, you know, she's just a freaking Aryan Christian supremacist from hell who thinks, you know, being just an immense shrew, which, you know, so far it's getting her there. I mean, it made... That's how Ann Coulter made her career, doing this shit. But I've seen this like time and time and time again. And the worst one of these bubblegum pundits is all, and he's been around the longest, is Alex Jones. And I'm not going into like Rush Limbaugh or Bill O'Reilly or those assholes, but they're pretty much the same as well. But Alex Jones, who says nothing but crazy shit on his InfoWars show, he got banned from YouTube recently. I guess I don't know what he said or what crazy thing did he say this year that was crazier than any shit he said all along or last year. So I mean, he said there was something in the water turning the frogs gay. I remember that quote. And most of these people that I'm talking about, I've watched about as much as I can stand. Like, I've watched Glenn Beck on The Blaze. We get that channel here, so I stumbled upon it. And he's an epic douche, as usual. He's got his fucking chalkboard still. He's like, ooh, well, if you're using a chalkboard, that makes you smart. He's teaching us a lesson. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure Glenn Beck could teach you a lot about snorting cocaine because he did a lot of that and he drank a lot, and he can teach you a lot about the planet Kolob. I think that's the planet from the Mormon religion, which is about as crazy as fucking Scientology. That's about what Glenn Beck could teach you. And Alex Jones basically sells like really flim-flam vitamin products and shit like that, and that kind of, like supplements and on his show and on his online store. It's generally how he makes money. He makes a lot of money. He has his own studio and stuff like that. The YouTube banned him. I don't even know the exact quote because I don't listen to him very often. He just talks like this. I'm Alex Jones. Donald Trump's the greatest person of all time. These fucking people. And if you don't like, Donald Trump, of course, you've got Trump derangement syndrome, apparently. But there isn't. I think Alex Jones has to be about the most warped of all of them. And I mean, his show looks fake. His show reminds me of almost back in the days of Morton Downey Jr. in a way, which is back in the late '80s. He was sort of a trash talk show host. But we knew Morton Downey Jr. was bullshit, and the people in the audience went there to basically go there and have fun. I mean, it was sort of, this kind of bullshit back in the day was sort of entertainment, genuinely entertainment. It was fun. We didn't take it seriously. I don't know if it was sort of post 9/11 or whatever, these people, they took on a different tone and sort of became something else, and it was just fertile ground for people like Ben Shapiro and Milo and Tommy Loren and Alex Jones and a lot of these other people, and as well as Glenn Beck and the rest of them who've been around before, like Rush Limbaugh and Michael Savage and all these other assholes, to basically thrive. Because I didn't even realize there were this many people that thought this way, or they were that easily swayed until Trump got elected. I was in the dark about that. After that, I learned something new, and I did not know that many people would vote for Donald Trump for president. And it has, in part, with a little bit to do with people like this, who really, in the grand scheme of things, belong on the tabloid rack of the magazine rack, going on the when you're checking out for your groceries, leaving the grocery store. I'm sorry, fuck that up. When you're checking out from the store and then the rack with the Weekly World News and the National Enquirer, that is where that's what category I put these people in, because that's what they are. They're trash. They're fucking garbage. They are. I mean, Alex Jones is a fucking joke. They are clowns. And people need to realize that. They need to. Because look where we are, for Christ's sakes. I mean, you have nothing but shit in your head, and these people who voted for Trump, who still have shit in their head, do not want to admit that there is still shit in their head. Like, you have a problem. You know what I mean? You have a fucking problem. You are not well. You are not a well person if you still support Donald Trump. He is an ugly, racist, selfish, greedy, materialistic, womanizing, sexist, rapist, fucking monster. And you voted for him. You did that if you were a Trump voter. That is what you chose. Now, I realize that I voted for Bill Clinton in the 90s when I first turned 18, but I didn't know all that shit. And I didn't condone it down the line. I didn't continue to defend him when it happened, like a lot of you people defend Trump no matter what comes out about him. So, that is really on you. The onus is on you. I think I'll conclude there on this topic. This has been DS Yoxheimer. This is another edition of the Spectre. If you have any comments, leave them below. If like and subscribe my channel. If you like this video, if you don't, then don't. And take care.